One of the powerful things about Visio is the ability to connect data to the your process diagram. And so I have here a simple process for bottling beer. I'm going to have an inspector sanitize the bottles, fill them, clean them, and so on and so forth until it goes out the door to be consumed maybe at happy hour tonight. And the challenge is that I have a process and I always have data connected with that process. How do I connect those? And so Visio allows you to connect diagrams, process diagrams, IT network diagrams, etc., to a variety of data sources: Excel, Access, SharePoint list, SQL, SAP or Oracle systems here, or you can even create a custom data source if you want to. And so it's as easy as clicking Next. I'm going to do Excel just for purposes of demonstration, and I'll go back and I'm going to link to some Excel data back in Redmond. So now what you're looking at, we're back on SharePoint in Seattle, and I have a simple spreadsheet here. You can see I have the process steps here, and then I have data about that: inventory, cycle time, uptime, shifts, availability. And I'm going to connect my diagram to that data. So I'm going to simply say finish. And what I've done now is I've brought that data I just showed you back in Seattle to my spreadsheet. But it's not a static view. As the data changes in the spreadsheet, the data changes here. So it's linked, not copied, if you will. Okay? So now that I have the data here, I want to link it to the specific process steps. So you can see I have, the first one's called inspector. I can drag that up and I can drop it. And you'll see there's a little chain link there. So one way is just drag and drop. If you have a lot of data, it's much easier to link it. And so I will link all of it to the shapes. You can see I can pick any column heading from my spreadsheet, and I can connect it to whatever I want on the shapes. I'll just say finish. And now everything's connected, right? So again, as the data changes in the spreadsheet, it changes here, and it'll be reflected here. I'm going to close the data window. You can see I'm just going to uncheck this box. And now I'm going to apply what we call a data graphic. Now, what I've done, and I'll show you how easy that is I've turned that process diagram now into a very intuitive dashboard. Red, yellow, green has to do with uptime. This is inventory hours and cycle time. So how do you actually do that? You go into the data graphics. I'm going to edit. And you can see here's what I have. Here's the data I picked from my spreadsheet. Color by value, text, icon set. I could go in here and I pick color by value, but I could pick a data bar. And you can see out of the box we have lots of data bars you can pick from and assign data to. Or I could define an icon set, and you'll see the traffic signals that I use in this diagram here. So it's as easy as clicking and picking. Now, these can be, you can create your own if you're a really sophisticated customer and want a partner to do that. But we have a wide variety of easy to understand icons out of the box. And then it's just as easy as saving those, and they render automatically. Now, once I've done this, the logical thing is I want to share it with others. I want this to be the dashboard that management or perhaps someone more strategic looks at to get a quick view. And so I can go in and I can save it to SharePoint back in Seattle. I pick it as pick my SharePoint site. I pick a web drawing. A web drawing is so that anybody can see it in the browser. They don't have to have Visio installed. Then I'm going to save. Now we're going back and forth to Redmond. Basically what it's doing is it's going to prompt me. I'll say this is for Six Sigma.
Yes.
So you know that this is yours and not something I've already ginned up. Basically, it does some work in the background to maintain the data connections, because I'm going to save it to SharePoint and I want that data to refresh. And then it's going to come up in the browser. And once it's in the browser, here in a few moments, here it comes. Now it's available to anybody. I can be the ops guy, but I can show it to my management. So I'm going to enable the data. And here we are, okay? You can see I can pan, I can zoom, I'm in the browser. I can refresh that data manually, or I can set it to refresh automatically. So if you want to make sure you've always got a current view, if I have permission, I could open and change this in Visio and resave it. If I don't have permission, I can't do that, obviously. Now, let me show you what happens when the data changes, just so you can see. You can see I'm red on these 3 first steps, right, because we said it's below 50%. So let me change them all to orange. And if I do that, if I set these to 65, you'll see that that'll work. So I'll come in here, and I'm going to go in, say 65, 65, 65, okay? And now I'll come back over here, and I'm going to refresh. Update it, and there you go. So you can see you have a very simple form of business activity monitoring here. What you can do is you can create your Visio diagram. You can connect it to System Center data. Within that data wizard, it was a previously connected connection. It was the last option there. And then I can click on a server, and I can actually go to my System Center data at this point. So now I've gone and I've got full System Center information about what the problem is here. So it's really a great Microsoft story because it brings System Center, Visio, and SharePoint together in the browser in Visio services. It's another eCal scenario. And we've seen a lot of interest. Russia has found this very powerful. I had an email from their SSP last week saying that they took this to the central bank of Russia, and they think they'll drive about 600 Visio Professional licenses, and then they hope from there to drive it out more broadly into the financial system within Russia, because the bank drives often what other banks do. So now let's imagine I'm the business owner, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on in my retail business. Why am I behind on total revenue? I'm going to go into then an org chart view of my sales org. This is another Visio diagram connected to data. You can see here we've again used some color by value. If I come over here, you can see the legend. Color by value is revenue attainment, so this person's behind. Budget attainment is this bar here. And then this has to do with headcount. So you can connect sort of multiple data types into this org chart to give you a very quick view of sales, budget, and hiring, all in one view, very intuitively, right? It's that picture again. This guy is behind, not a good situation, so I can click down, I can hyperlink my diagrams, and now he owned the western part of the US. So we're going to bring up a map of the US, states linked to data, Washington's red, and then we have a relevant Excel web services web part over there with the data. Okay, we know it's Washington. Let's drill down. And now we've got 3 web parts. We have an Excel services web, a Visio web part here. You guys who have been to Redmond know this is Washington State. We've got our Excel services here and here. I can click, you'll notice we have Vancouver here. I can click on Bellingham. You know, these are the basic web part connections that you guys have seen. Seattle looks like it's the problem. Okay, so we've got, again, we're down at sort of the operational level of what's going on. We've isolated it now to the Seattle store. We've used a series of pictures to get us there. I'm going to go to the analyst dashboard in this case and try and figure out really what's the source of the problem. So here we have another Visio diagram. It's the food lines at the Seattle store connected to data, baked goods, beverages, and so on. You can see that in this case it looks like it's the snack foods that are red. So I can go down to a supply chain view, another Visio diagram, and this tracks, you guys familiar with supply chain diagrams? Basically tracks from production through to customer, and I can go all the way through, and it looks like it's my transit that's the problem. So I can send an alert to the store manager because it's SharePoint. Store manager can go into his or her dashboard, and we're going to bring up 2 Visio services web parts here. This is a plan of the store, right? We go back to that picture again. This takes advantage of Visio's ability to import CAD drawings, AutoCAD drawings. So I can bring in literally a floor plan done in AutoCAD, import that into Visio. It's in the Insert tab within Visio. And then I can drag shapes on here. These are just obviously rectangles. And I can connect these to data. So now I have that very intuitive picture. What could be more intuitive than pushing your, you can visualize pushing your cart through the aisle. And I can also bring up a web part here that's at a shelf level view. So we've gone from the very strategic to, oh, here's the picture of the products on the shelf. And I can trigger, I can click on a department and I can change the shelf level view. Now you could imagine your customer, in this case, connecting this to point of sale data, right? That would be a logical thing here. Now this has been done in Japan for a while. They actually do plan their merchandising, their promotions using this type of an approach. They know their departments, they get down to the shelf level, they connect that to point of sale data. If I'm doing a promotion here, how is that doing? If it's not doing well, I should change that promotion. So the high level story, strategic all the way down, and the things I want you guys to take away is Visio Services is a nice complement to our BI story. It is not our BI story, it is part of our BI story. We've shown performance point services, SQL data, Excel service data, Excel services. It just augments our story and it makes it more visual and it makes it more, I would argue, customized without a developer for our customers. That's really the story. No coding to get to these web parts.